Hi everyone, welcome back to another tactics video covering the 10th edition Astra Militarum Index. In this video I'm going to cover all the character units, to which there are 17 in total according to my counting abilities. I've done a series of other videos covering such things as indirect units, our tanks, which are non-super heavies, and our our scouts, infiltrator and deep strike units. You can check them out, some of the links I'll put in the description below and also up here. Just like those previous videos, I've got two documents to look at, which is firstly a spreadsheet in front of us here. We can see the unit type, or the unit, their point cost, their movement, their toughness, save, wound, leadership, and OC value. Then got a PowerPoint presentation with all the individual data sheets, and we'll go through each of these and discuss them all. Just like previous videos, I've got some assumed knowledge to help anybody who's newer to it, and also to reconfirm our understanding for those who are a bit more experienced, because you still actually learn the odd thing when you look through things. So firstly, all of these characters, there's some key things to be aware of. Is a lot of them are leader units, and that's a new thing to 10th edition, where they can be attached to a unit, and we'll see what those are in a moment. But the key thing to call out here, basically all this mumbo jumbo basically indicates that when that leader unit with the other unit, such as an infantry squad, has been shot at or attacked, all the attacks firstly go into the bodyguard unit, being the 10-man infantry squad in one example. And the key point it makes here is, even if your character has taken wounds from, say, a sniper, and it takes new attacks, those attacks must go into the bodyguard unit, yeah? Now, the attached units, some more details here, basically indicates the starting strength. So if you've got Lord Solar and 10 models in an infantry squad, the starting strength is 10, is 11, as opposed to 10 or individually. And therefore, also when it comes to doing things, I think like battle shock, you have to go off that new number, the larger number, as opposed to what originally was. It also says in this explanation here that basically once the bodyguard unit is dead, then the other remaining attacks or new attacks can go into that that character is by himself. And it also calls out here that when it comes to scoring victory points for killing units, they're essentially two units. So Lord Solar by himself, and then the 10-man infantry squad. So hopefully that's a bit clear, and it's just important to call out as some considerations. Another one to always be aware of is the precision keyword. This basically means sniper, or in the most common sense. That means that basically they can always target a character model, even though they're in a blob of other models around them in an attached unit. Then two stratagems worth calling out. So Epic Challenge from the core rulebook allows, in the fight phase, you pay a command point, and basically a character unit from your army within engagement range of one or more attached units is selected to fight. Then you can basically target the character in that unit. Have the precision keyword in combat, in melee. The way I believe this would work in theory is if you've got, say, the enemy character here, and his 10 buddies along here, and your character goes in from the this side here and actually starts to a fight. Does that mean they can basically sort of pass the attacks down as opposed to sort of having to be in engagement range of the character? I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And tell me if I'm wrong, yeah? Now, reinforcements is an Astra Militarum one, which I'm a big fan of. It calls out here that when a regiment keyword unit is destroyed, you pay 2 command points and you bring it back to life at full wounds. It does say here that the stratagem can't be used to return destroyed character units attached to units. So we have to be careful when we talk about it in a moment. But yeah, so hopefully that's helpful for some of the newer ones, and for any war dogs, hopefully it's just good to discuss. And just throughout the entire video, if you've got any comments or thoughts and I make mistakes, please tell me in the comments here, because I want to learn from you as well, because I play one game a week, so I'm far from the most competitive player. Okay, so what is the first unit? It is a tank commander, costing us most expensive, 240 points of everything. It's a tank, basically, 11 Russ. Key stats of 10-inch move, toughness 11, so very tough, 2+ save, 13 wounds, 7 leadership, and OC value of 3. So by far the most expensive unit because it is a tank. Now, a quick point about the Astra Militarum characters overall is, compared to other armies where it's almost like your characters are massive damage dealers, Astra Militarum, broadly speaking, as you can see here, we're not about that. These units aren't meant to do tons of damage. Tank commander excluded, and even then the tank commander in the current rule set is not the most reliable damage dealer. But let's just look. So they do call out, it is by far the most expensive, and then compared to its Lehman Russ siblings, it is 40 points more expensive compared to, or maybe it's 20 points compared to a Demolisher Siege Cannon variant. So the point I make here is that if you're going to take a tank commander, you've got to take all the best weapons, be a Demolisher Siege Cannon, multi-melter, maybe a las cannon on the front. So you've got to take all the best stacker. So 240 points, what do you get for your money? You get a Limb and Rust, of course, and the key thing basically is you can give one order to squadron units, which is the vast majority of vehicle units, the vast majority excluding flies and some of the weird Forge World ones, and it can give an order up to 12 inches away. Okay, so 12 inches is a step on to what it was in some parts of 9th edition, where it was only 6, and you can only give one order. Now, as you probably know, the order structure for Astra Militarum now, gone are the days of the 9th edition, the back end of 9th edition, we could splash orders. So this tank commander can give one order, one single order. Now, I'm not going to cover them, but they're called enhancements now, or abilities, additional abilities. You could make this, you could have give 2 orders, but you can only give one order to one squadron unit within 12 inches. Okay, so not easy, and not the most, flexible thing to be using. Now, its ability, as you can see here, is Death Befitting Officer. So when the model is destroyed on a 2+, you don't remove it from play. You firstly finish off all its attacks as though it was on full wound. So the key thing, this is an evolution stratagem called Vengeful Salute in the back end of 9th edition, where you pay 1 CP and you could fire the turret weapon only. Now you can fire everything at full strength, at full wounds. So that is good. It's definitely flavorful. My key problem with it though is basically your ability is not going to go off until this model dies. So if it doesn't die the entire game, which I hope it doesn't, it never gets to actually take advantage of the fact you've paid additional points for this over on top of the fact, obviously it gives orders, but if you've got an ability that only triggers when the model dies, in my opinion, it's not that powerful. Now also crucially, you've got a 1 in 6 chance that this fails and you don't get to shoot on death, which could be a total donut. And then depending on the weapons you choose, as in the main weapons, so if you take a Limb and Rust battle cannon and you're killed in melee, that battle cannon couldn't shoot at the unit that finished it off, for example, like a nasty enemy character. So you have to be sort of conscious of what weapons you give this thing if you're going to play it aggressively, hoping to spark this. But in my opinion, I think this ability is flavorful, it's cool, it's super fun to play, but competitively it's just not there because, as I said, it may not pay off all game. So why are you paying all these points? So my opinion towards the tank commander isn't good. It's 240. It's horribly overpriced. Limb and Rusters in general, as you know, are overpriced. And as I said, for the additional 20 or 40 points, whatever the difference is, maybe I think it's 20 points versus the Demolisher Limb and Rust, for one order, an ability that may not actually happen, I don't think it's worth it, unfortunately, overall. Okay, who's next? So Lord Solar, King Horseman, 125 points, half the price of a tank commander, which is fine. Moves 12, very fast. Toughness 4, 3+ save, 4+ invul save, a whopping 8 wounds. Leadership is 6+, and OC of 2. So definitely, broadly speaking, looking at this, it feels pretty good. Definitely, so toughness 4 is still squishy, 4+ invul save is great, 8 wounds will make him hang around. But against concerted efforts, he will disappear. And I've seen him get smashed by Desolators by one of my friends, which was not nice, but he died. Okay, so what do we get? As I said, so his Dakar is actually pretty decent. He's got what you could almost label as 2 battle cannon shots hitting onto Strength 8 AP2 flat 2 damage. I know it's not a battle cannon profile, but it's actually quite powerful. He's then got 6 attacks in melee, hitting on 2, Strength 6 AP2 and flat 2 damage. So he's actually got some decent sort of output. He could take down low-level characters also, low-level chaff, or maybe Space Marine standard dudes. Now, a key thing to call out, as before we go to the abilities, is what units he can lead. So he can lead the Rough Riders, Cadian Shock, basically all the infantry units, and Kazrakan. So very good. Now, one point on this. On a 12-inch move, he can move around quite quickly. With the Rough Riders, he could definitely take advantage of the movement. But with the Cadian Shock, basically, he's got a half his movement to keep up with the foot sloggers. So that's something to be aware of. But as I'll discuss in a moment, I don't think it's actually about his movement per se. So let's just jump to order. So he is probably the single, in my opinion, auto take in the current index because he can give 3 orders to any units full stop, which is huge, as opposed to say the tank commander can give 1 order to a squadron unit. Okay, so Lord Solar can give everybody orders. Fantastic. Now, the other great things, the massive ticks he's got, is that so Lord Solar, at the beginning of each command phase, of your command phase, you score an additional CP. So essentially over the course of the game, you've got additional 5 command points, which is whoppingly huge. So I'm very confident this means you can't generate additional CP in your turns because you've already done that, or the battle round. But even then, even though it may be a bit of a limiting factor, potentially, given the fact that you've always got an additional CP per turn, is much more effective than, say, taking, say, like an Inquisitor who can give you CP refunds, or the Voxcaster ability on the Infantry Squad giving you a CP refund on a 6+, etc., etc. So this is a guaranteed additional 5 CP if he lives over the course of the game, and that is humongous in this game in 10th edition, given you have at best, what, 10 CP? No, two per round per se. So 15 is massive, absolutely massive. Now, the other thing which is definitely not as good as it used to be, and I've spoken about this in a previous video, he can redeploy 3 Astra Militarum units. The key thing is Astra Militarum units before you roll to see who is attacker and defender, or who goes first. And the best thing about this is you can basically put units into reserve. So, you know, it's not as powerful as if you know you're going first or second, you can redeploy, but still, you could basically, you know, deploy everything. You can actually struggle to fit everything in deployment zone. You have a lot of models suddenly sticking out of cover, and then put those models into reserves. You could do it up to start, but you could play some games with your opponent. Yeah, a bit of fun, sort of trying to, you know, outposition each other. So at 125 points, I think he's genuinely an absolute auto include. Additional 5 CP, can give orders all over the place. And as I'll sort of spoil when we get to it, is you put him with a command squad, his order range can be boosted 24 inches. So I'll talk about that when I get to command squads. But let me just check my notes. Some negatives with Lord Solar. He's a big model. It's actually quite a big footprint. Some people hate the look of him, and that's important. He looks, quite frankly, a bit ridiculous, but I love the model. I have said he can't join Def Corps Riders. He can join Rough Riders, but not Def Corps Riders, which is a bit of a bummer. And as I said, given he can move 12, he's got basically half his movement. He's keeping up with the foot sloggers. But I'm very, very positive towards Lord Solar, personally. And what do you think? Please tell me. Okay, next is Gaunts Ghosts. So what I've done is basically shown Gaunt, Ibram Gaunt, the character model. He's got a 4+ save and a 5+ involve save. He's got 3 wounds, leadership 6+, and OC value of 1. Then he's got his 5 companions, and what I've basically shown is across all of them, there's 2 wounds each, so you've got 10 wounds. Yeah, an OC value of 5. So the total wounds across this unit is 13, with an OC value of 6 in total, of course, and that's at 115 points. So, 115 points for 13 wounds, if we just think of an infantry squad at 65 points, this is actually not badly costed, in the sense if you had 13 infantrymen, it'd be whatever it is, it'd be about 80 points. But then on top of that, let's see what you get. So, and there are 2 wounds. So what do we get with the Gaunts Ghosts? Now, the key thing, and I'll summarize this quickly, is that they're very, very slippery, in inverted commas. A massive positive, they've got the keyword infiltrate, given not many units actually have this for Astra Militarum. They then got lone operative, so they can't be targeted outside of 12. And if you're within 12, they're -1 to hit. So super, super slippery. And if they do get into melee, which could potentially happen given they're probably going to be deployed quite aggressively, they've got fight first, which definitely helps, yeah. Now just jumping ahead, Ibram Gaunt can give 2 orders to either regiment or Gaunts Ghost unit. Now the only Gaunts Ghost unit is this one, so he can order his unit around, which definitely is good, yeah. And then he can give it onto some power, so we're within the standard range of 6 inches, yeah. Now, the other good things, as we sort of skip back to abilities, is they're even more slippery in the sense they've always got the benefits of cover against range attacks, of course. So not only can you only be targeted within 12, they're -1 to hit. They've got a constant +1 save. So that means the boys, the 5 chaps have got a 4+ save, and Ibram's got a 3+ save, which is definitely helpful. Another super slippery element is at the end of your opponent's turn, if they're not engaged at range, they can be removed from the battlefield and put in reinforcements, and then the next time basically deep strike onto the board. So this is very, very good. You know, if they're under threat, you know, lost a couple of the bodies, some of the boys have been shot to death, you could actually, you know, you could take these guys off the battlefield and then use them again to deep strike. And deep strike is always better than reinforcements, yeah, because obviously reinforcements have got to be near a table edge, but these guys have to be just within 9 inches, more than 9 inches away from the enemy model. So very, very good. Now their weapons is actually, I'd say, a negative. It's overly complicated, and I think I've giggled in a previous video about the scout unit style units, is that this is a huge simplification of what it was in 9th edition. Like, it was an entire page of like weapon things. So the snapshot is there's a fair bit of DACA coming out of this, hitting on 5s, hitting on 2s, hitting on 3s. You've got, you know, 3-shot las carbines. You've got some with AP1, some AP0. They're straight silver blades. You've got basically 3 attacks each, which definitely will ladder up. You've then got McColl straight silver, which has got devastating wounds on 5 attacks at AP1, hitting on 2s. Now, given you can give these guys orders, so you could say take aim, they're going to be hitting all on 2s, even fixed bayonets if you need to be all hitting on 2s across the board. So it's a pro. There's some very good low-level DACA coming at this. You could definitely munch through, you know, chaff units, or even give spacemen a bit of a run for their money. But I think inherently it's very complicated, because as they take casualties, you'll be having to work out, oh, what has Bragg got? He's dead. What has McColl got? Okay, take him out. You know what I mean? What's Rawn? Okay, he had this, take it out. So it's a pro and a con. But as I said, so Gaunts Ghosts, the positives, they're very slippery, hard to tie down. They can infiltrate, good light DACA, and they've got 2 orders. And the key sort of problem, I think personally, is that they're overly complicated. Now, as to a final opinion, like, they're definitely good, but 115 points for a unit which is going to be infiltrating for you and, you know, playing the objective game. Can this be achieved with cheaper units? Probably, but they're definitely a very positive in my sense. You know, versus the tank commander, which is completely thumbs down. Lawsol is a massive thumbs up. Gaunts Ghosts are more of like a side thumb, if that makes sense. Okay, with that very basic explanation of my feelings, let's talk about Colonel Ironhand Straken, the Cadian Commander. So he costs you 80 points, 6-inch move, toughness 3, 3+ save, 4+ invul save, 4 wounds, leadership 7, and OC value of 1. Okay, what do we get for probably the oldest metal miniature you can buy for Astra Militarum at the moment? So he's got a shotgun and a plasma pistol. Great, a bit of low-level DACA, and he's got his glorious Bionic Claw, which is anti-monster 4+. Okay, cool. And then he's got 6 attacks hitting on 2s, strength 6, AP2, flat 2 damage. So he could definitely put in some good work against the right units. Yeah, you know, AP2, flat 2 is fantastic. Now, he can only join Cadian Jungle Fighter units, which is actually a massive negative, because they're by far the worst battle line unit in the book, unfortunately, just because you can't take any special weapons besides flamers, and they're meant to be fighting in melee, and then the melee ability is pretty terrible. But anyway, okay. So you can only join Cadian fighters. Can you make them better? Okay, he can give 2 orders to 2 regiment units, so that's helpful. And then he's got the Scout 6 ability, so he can move the pre-game Scout 6 move with the Cadian Jungle Fighters. And then he's got basically a melee buff, where when he's leading unit, melee attacks have got the lethal hits ability. So he's got basically born soldiers in the fight phase. Okay, cool. You know, may help into the right target. Okay, then his other key thing is each time he makes a melee attack, if he's charged, he can roll the hit, reroll the wound roll. So as I said, you know, hitting on 2s, wounding on 4s, 3s, 2s, whatever it is, re-rolling could definitely guarantee some real sort of damage is done. You know, probably an average of like 4 into a vehicle, maybe. I don't know, depends on the vehicle, but I'd guess it'll be at least 4 damage. So what's my notes say? So he is 4+ invul save is massive, obviously, given the only other model we've seen so far is Lord Solar. He's very stabby, very, very stabby. He can give 2 orders, but the massive bummers are you You can only leave Cadian units. If you could leave Cadian, not good for the lore point of view, that could be okay maybe, because they're better, or even Death Korp Krieg. He's stabby, which then in an army which is about shooting, do you want to be stabby? And then he's toughness 3, so you know he's still quite squishy-ishy. He's got 4 wounds, so your hazard test on your plasma pistol won't kill him, but still toughness 3 means majority of things are going to be wounding you on at least a 3, probably 2s in some instances, into serious things. So Colonel Iron Straken, I'm probably a thumbs down, which is a massive bummer because I've owned the model. I want to play Combat Guard. I've tried it. It sucked. It was quite hard. So he's definitely a thumbs down in the context of he can be also attached to the Cadians as well, which is a bit of a donut. Okay, next is the Scions Command squad. Now you've got 80 points. You get a Tempesta Prime, I think they're called, tell me if I'm wrong. And then you've got the Scion chaps. So basically the toughness 3, 4+ save. He's got 3 wounds. Leadership 7+, OC value 1, and then the boys have got 1 wound each, therefore 1 OC each, so you've got a total of 7 wounds across the bodies and OC value of 5, yeah? Okay, so what do we get for our 80 points? We get this. So firstly, let's make it super obvious and very clear. These guys can only join Tempesta Scion squads, and a cool thing is, if you make the Tempestus Prime your Warlord, all your Tempestus Scions become battle line keyword units. So that's good. And that means you can take boatloads, and you can take up to 6 of them. Yeah. So if you are hardcore trying to play Scion, a full Scion list in the current edition, you can do this via obviously taking your Tempesta Prime as your Warlord. So that's nice. And then let's have a look around. So I mean, you probably all know Scions. They can take all the fancy war gear, so plasmas, melters, grenade launchers, flamers, hotshot volley guns, etc., etc. They're hitting on 3+ organically, so they're more shooty, and then obviously a 4+ save means they hang on a little bit more than standard guardsmen. Now, just like the Scions, their key sort of the best thing they bring on the table is deep strike. So deep strike, as I've said, is more powerful than reinforcements, given you can put it anywhere more than 9, and given in this edition, if you play the tactical cards, the random cards, if you pull up in a secondary which needs you to be in table quarters, or maybe a opponent's deployment zone, you obviously can get there much easier with deep striking units, as opposed to having to move a vehicle, whatever, or advance something and charge it, etc., etc. So deep strike is a very powerful organic rule, and that's probably why you pay that 80 points for this. But then as we look, I think the only thing which makes this different compared to the other ones, we'll look at in a moment, the other command squads, is he gives sustained hit 1, yeah? So this, on a unit which has got some relatively decent amounts of DACA, and then obviously if you attach this to, say, a 10-man squad of Scions, and have a massive blob of these boys coming down, even just the hotshot las guns with their AP1 of this edition, it is going to actually stack, yeah. A lot of high quality shots coming out, albeit quite low level strength. Sustained hits 1 will do work, will ladder up. Now, order wise, and give 1 order to a regiment keyword unit, which this is actually 1, so that helps. And a bit of a weird one is his command rod. You can only give, the unit can be affected by 2 different orders, which is a bit weird because he can only give 1 order. Okay, so maybe he could give the unit he's in an order, and then Lord Solo can give him an order from far away, or another command squad could. But okay, that's good in a sense. And then beyond that, everything else, just other command squads to go through. So med pack 6+ feel no pain helps. +1 OC on the regimental standard, which means you have these massive blobs of dudes going around with the OC value of 2, I think in this instance. And Master Vox, a 24-inch cast, is very, very powerful. So let me just check my notes. So deep strike tick, sustained hits, massive tick. You can make battle line, it's less of a tick, but it's cool. And 6+ feel no pain, and banner giving the additional OC is very positive. Negatives for this, they're still fragile. They've got no invul save. Gone are the days where your platoon commanders had invul save, so they don't have an invul save, which means this could be a very squishy-ishy target, obviously when they get through all the bodies to achieve assassinate. And actually, this is a comment for overall Scions, is that they've got high levels of DACA, but the DACA is maximum strength 9 on obviously the melter. So in an edition where vehicles start at a toughness of 9, these boys used to be quite good at removing vehicles. back a couple of, like, maybe 12 months ago. But they are going to struggle because you've got to, you're wounding on 5s at best, yeah. So that's a massive watch out. But I'm pretty positive towards them overall. I think one thing to say is that if you just want to bring in a squad to deep strike, you just bring in one squad of Scions, yeah, a 5-man blob for, I think it's 60 points. So is there a role for these guys? Depends. If you've got some rounding errors in this, say if you've got 80 points spares versus 60, which I've considered, you can bring them instead because they achieve the same thing. They've got a 6+ feel no pain, etc, etc. So I'm like a thumb sidewards for them. But yeah. Okay, next is the coolest dude in the book, Sly Marbo, 75 points. He is toughness 3, 5+ save, 4 wounds, and OC value of 1. Okay, so 75 points is actually quite it's a big jump to what he was in 9th edition. So what do you get? As we look at his weapons, a key thing you have to call it is the precision keyword. So he is a character hunter. His pistols and for infantry 2, plus fantastic. At strength 5 AP, 3 attack, strength 5 AP, 1 2 damage. Okay, and his envenomed blade is also the same. So hitting on 2s, winning infantry on 2s. They've got AP 1 and flat 2 damage. So into low level characters, he will kill them. And I have to keep reminding myself we've got the precision keyword because many times I've forgotten that, and it's been crucial, has annoyed me, unfortunately. But then, so massive ticks. He's got infiltrate. That's fantastic. As I said, he can basically, be in the no man's land before the game begins and play some objective play. Lone operative, fantastic. Can't be targeted more than outside of 12. Stealth, always -1 to hit. And then his abilities. So the first one-man army, is just a bit gimmicky, where if he's within 3 inches of some friendly models from Astra Militarum units, and they're shot at, he can then shoot his machine pistol, ripper pistol. Cool. The one that is good though, is he can basically move, shoot, and move again. So I've used this a lot in the early, it's been 2 games now where I've pulled behind enemy lines in turn 1, and because I'd Sly Marbo quite aggressively deployed, he moves 6, he shoots his machine pistol, ripper pistol, he moves 6 again. So in the right circumstance, it could be very, very powerful. Now, so yeah, as I said, he's slippery, he's got precision, he can move, shoot, move, he can infiltrate. Now a key thing to remember also is he's a single model. So he's quite easy to hide. He's quite easy to get into little places because obviously it's just one little tiny base as opposed to 5 Scions or whatever else you could use. That I think is very, very good thing to remember. Now before I forget, he's got the regiment keyword. And he, in theory, can be brought back via the reinforcement stratagem. Now that I think is a very good one because he comes back at 4 wounds, and definitely could see some good play given that he's an individual dude. He's got the precision keyword, so if you are up against it, your opponent's pushing towards your deployment zone, have him come in, he could snipe some characters, yeah. So it could potentially work. Some negatives are he's very fragile. He's basically a guardsman on steroids. Toughness 3, 5+ save, 4 wounds. So he will die against the right level of attention. Actually, any attention, even just bolters or even las guns. And then AP 1 is probably a limiting factor, making him truly quite aggressive. If it was AP 2, like his friend Colonel Iron Straken, he would be absolutely fantastic. But I'm very positive towards Sly Marbo. He's one of the only models we've got which has got infiltrate. Besides Gaunts Ghosts, his 75 points is not cheap in the scheme of things, but he's actually, I'm very positive towards Sly Marbo personally. Okay, next is then the Cadian Command squad. So 65 points, you get a Cadian Commander, and you get the veterans, the 4 chaps. So as just like the Scions, you get 7 wounds in total, OC value of 5 in total. Yeah. So what do the Cadians do now? With the Cadians, you can do what the Scions can to a degree. You can bring all the low-level Dakar special weapons. I think you can bring up to 2, I think, in total. I can't actually remember. I'm not looking at the additional thing. They can only be attached to Cadians. Makes sense. And then the boss man can take a power fist, which is definitely the way to go because obviously it's all for free now. It's all in the bacon toss. So they've got some low-level Dakar. But they're only hitting on 4s, these guys. Gone to the days where veterans hitting on 3s, which is a bit of a bummer. Now, quickly covering off, so they can give 1 order from the commander to regiment keyword units, which is cool. They've got the Master Vox extending 24-inch range, fantastic. Med Packers and +1 OC. Now, what makes them unique compared to, say, the Tempestus Scions who've got sustained hits is their Cadian Stands ability. So whilst you've got a Cadian officer, you can ignore any or all modifiers to the characteristics of this model in this unit and to any roll or test made for models in the unit, excluding saving throws. So if you've got these guys bolted onto a 20-man blob of Cadians, any modifiers to hit, to wound, etc., are ignored. And as per what it says, excluding the saving throw. So this situationally could be very, very powerful. I mean, the right matchups, maybe even as per the wording, it's very clear, is that if you go into against, is it demons, which can debuff your leadership, for example, or you're debuffed your leadership in general, potentially, you ignore that as per this wording. Yeah, so that is situationally quite powerful. I think given it's on just Cadian guardsmen, I mean, it's not as powerful if it worked on like a Lehman Russ, for example, and a bad example. But 65 points. I think the main way I use either the Cadian Command Squad or another command squad we'll talk about, the Platoon one, is you bolt on Lord Solar onto them. You then have 10 dudes as just body bags, and then you basically have Lord Solar's orders boosted 24 inches away. Yeah. Now, current reading and wording of this is each time the officer in this barracks unit issues an order, it can issue it to an eligible unit up to 24 inches away. So what that basically means is the boss man, the Cadian commander, his order can be given to any eligible infantry unit or regiment keyword unit within 24, and Lord Solar can do the same to everything. Yeah, so this is very powerful, and this alone, with that combination, which I believe is a very important part in most lists, makes the Cadian Command Squad or the Platoon Command Squad auto includes in the current index, yeah, until we get a codex. So, negatives here: they don't have an invul save, which is common across all the command squads, and they're not as tanky as they once were. What I mean by that is at the back end of 9th, you could take Bulgrim bodyguards, which I don't cover in this video, and basically just have just this never-ending tanking of actually just getting worked, because you used to have a 5+ feel no pain, now it's a 6+ feel no pain, and the way now the bodyguard rule works is that the Bulgrim bodyguard or Nort Dead Dog gives your Cadian commander, for example, a 4+ feel no pain, or if you've got attached Lord Solar weight, that actually sounds quite good, but overall, they're not where they used to be, the command squad. And if you remember 9th edition, they're the secondary objective, inflexible command, and also boots on the ground, where you just march a command squad up, center the board, and score victory points. That obviously is gone in this edition. So it's almost like the purpose of the command squad, unless you're taking boatloads of infantry and you don't take Lord Solar, it's not as clear to me in my mind. But hopefully that makes sense. And tell me what you think here, because I use them purely just for the Lord Solar 24-inch range cast. So give me your opinion. Okay, next is a Forge World dude, Def Corps Marshal. He is 60 points, toughness 3, 5+ save, and a 5+ invul save. 4 wounds, and everything else is the same, just like everybody else. So, doesn't have a picture from the Forge World Index, and I don't actually know if you can buy this guy anymore. I think you can buy it in a 5-man or 4-man command squad, but yeah, you almost have to just proxy stuff now, which I'm sure everyone would be cool about. So, just like some other dudes we'll look at, like the Cadian Castellan we'll look at in a moment, this all matches up. You can take a power weapon, cool. You can take a plasma pistol, cool. Las pistol, blah, blah, blah. He can lead Def Corps of Krieg. He can lead infantry squads. So that's good. So you've got some flexibility. Now, we'll just jump ahead of the cool stuff. He can give 1 order. Okay, fine. And where the magic happens is he's got a 5+ feel no pain. So he's saving, you've got a 5+ save, you've got a 5+ invul save, you've got a 5+ feel no pain, which probably means you can comfortably say your 4 wounds becomes 5 wounds, yeah? According to the math of it, you've got a 2 in 6 chance over the course of 4 wounds. Now, the absolute thing, and I know there's a lot of positive talk about this across everybody, is that he gives the unit he leads a 5+ feel no pain. Now that is humongous. So if you have a 20-man blob of infantry, or Def Corps, let me get the math right. I'm going to use my calculator, but it's a 1 in 3 chance times by 20. you've actually got a 27 wound unit, yeah? Because you've got a 2 in 6 chances, a 1 in 3 chance, you've got 20 wounds, you work out the math, you've actually got a 27 wound unit, yeah? Because you've got a 5+ feel no pain across those 20 wounds on the attached 20 Death Corps of Krieg or the attached 20 infantrymen. Now, something else which is good is the Cult of Sacrifice. So basically, once per battle, you can target this unit and use Insane Bravery stratagem for nothing. And it can be done even if it's been done somewhere else. So that's helpful. So 5+ feel no pain on himself is good. 5+ feel no pain on the wider unit is fantastic. So again, it's been spoken about. You could have the Primaris Pysker with these guys as well. You could have him, the Primaris Pysker, giving you a 4+ invul save against shooting attacks, 5+ feel no pain. Suddenly a 20-man blob is going to hang around a lot. Yeah, so obviously with all that math, it's just going to get exceptionally annoying. Now, I think the Death Corps Marshal has to be played that way. You can take him on a 10-man, but you're only going to get maybe additional 3 or 4 wounds on the math of 10 dudes. The only problem, of course, is given how powerful the blast keyword is, if you've got 20 dudes, that is +4 dice on the blast roll on the number of shots when they're at full strength. So actually, you're almost playing into the problem that, you know, against blast kill, there's plenty of them out there. You could actually just get chopped to bits. Granted, you might have a 4+ invul save from the psychic. Granted, you've got a 5+ feel no pain. You are inviting a problem, but, and I haven't personally used it, but this could be the unit which just marches to the table and just camps on objectives and just gets super annoying. If you go on infantry heavy, I think he's an absolute auto include. You could take 2 of these. There's nothing stopping you. 60 points feels very fair for what you're getting. So I think he's a very positive model to consider. And then you just have to proxy or try and find an old recast of this chap, because I don't think they're selling anymore individually. Okay, so that's a massive tick. Okay, Death Rider Squadron Commander. So he's a man on horseback, moves 12, toughness 4, 4+ save, 5+ invul save, 5 wounds, and everything else is the same. So there is nothing as far as an actual model is available. So I've got like one Death Corps rider with like his armor painted gold, like his shoulder pad. He could be my marshal, but that's something to consider as an actual model for it. Now his DACA overall is an okay low level DACA. Plasma pistol cool. The Death Rider Hunting Lance means you get +1 to wound on the charge, which means you'll be wounding, I don't know, vehicles on a 5, cool, hitting on 3, strength, 4, as I said, 5 wounds, 5 attacks, AP 1, so it's all low level. A bit of a gimmick is on the charge, it's got devastating wounds, so your 1 wound attacks could become mortal wounds, yay. You can give 1 order to regiment units, okay, cool. And his key thing, which I've spoken about in a previous video, is the models, the unit he's leading, which is the Death Rider Squadron, have the infiltration ability, so they become able to deploy in no man's land. Now, having used this in several games, unfortunately, given it's 6 dudes on horseback, it's quite a big footprint, and they will struggle to fit in a lot of terrain. And given they're actually very squishy, the 4+ save, 2 wounds each, they just get murdered. So it ends up being 120 points, 60 points for the character, 60 points for the 5 horsemen, 120 points for an infiltration unit when you've got options such as Sly Marbo, who's cheaper, and Gaunts Ghosts, who are way more resilient because they've got lone operative. The combination I spoke about in a previous video, it's just not working anymore for me, which is a bit of a shame. So the Death Rider Squadron Commander for me is a thumbs down, because he just doesn't really serve much of a purpose. And overall, the Death Corps Rider dudes just aren't, they're not that good. It's just, yeah, I own 10, I'm bummed by it, but it's what it is, isn't it? Okay, next is the Platoon Command Squad. So, as you can see, it's 5 points cheaper than the Cadian Command Squad. And this should be quite quick in the sense that you basically can do everything the same. They've got a leader. They can take on all the same DACA. The commander can take all the same stuff. Critically, they can join Cadian, Death Corps, and Infantry Squad. So the Cadians join the Cadian Command Squad, and this is basically for everybody else. Yeah. So if you've got some Death Corps models or Cadian dudes to be commander-style dudes in a command squad, you bolt them on here, which is cool. The key difference though is you can take a heavy weapon team. So in my favourite combination of Lord Solar, a 10-man squad and a command squad, taking a mortar team in the command squad and the infantry squad means they can actually contribute to the fight, because personally I just have them sitting at the back giving out orders, and then you've got a crap load of points potentially not doing much from the bodyguard, so at least you've got some mortars going into the fight. Now everything else is the same as per the Cadians, but basically says here the command structure. So when a friendly platoon unit is within 6, they can use stratagems even when they're battle shocked. So situationally fine. It could come up. I think from my experience, having played about 6 or 7 games now, is battle shock doesn't come up that much. Well, that's because I don't take heaps of infantry, and I don't know how crucial it is, this. Now, it's interesting, GW have basically costed them up at 60 points and 65 points. So it's almost like they recognise that the ability isn't as good as the Cadian one, where you can ignore all modifiers on the attached unit. So the platoon squad, platoon command squad, I'm still positive, but that's using it with a Lord Solar Vox cast range, and I'm probably more positive personally towards it because the back of the board has a mortar team. At least it's contributing to the fight while Lord Solar stays safe at the back of the board. But I'd love to hear your opinion, because, you know, I mean, it's 5 points between the Cadians and the command squad. It's like whatever, it's just rounding, yeah. Right, next is Sergeant Harker, another very old metal miniature, the Cadian hero. He moves 6, he's toughness 4, which actually makes him quite unique because most other characters are toughness 3. He's got a 5+ save, so he's got a t-shirt save, got 3 wounds, and everything else is the same. So what do we get? And I've covered him in a previous video as well. So fundamentally, he's got a cool bolter, which is cool. I put a bit of a cool gimmick. He's got a thing called payback time, so once per battle, he's got 6 attacks. That's nice, hitting on 3s with sustains hit 3. So in theory, your 6 attacks, you're going to roll 1 6 across the 6 dice. You're going to get, in theory, if they all hit, 9 hits, yeah, which is not nice. I mean, it's only once per game, yeah. He's got a 6+ feel no pain. So technically, you've got 3.5 wounds, because obviously 1 in 6 chance is actually not that good. If he gave it to the rest of the unit, like the Death Corps Marshal, that'd be amazing, but he doesn't. He can lead Cadian Jungle Fighters, which is a bigger problem as it is for, say, Colonel Ironhand Straken, and he can scout move 6 just like the Cadians. So, I mean, he can give orders. I mean, being Cadian, it just totally just wipes him out. He has, per it says here, is attacks which are made more than 12 inches away are -1 to hit. So if he's attached to 10 Cadian dudes, they're -1 to hit. I mean, that definitely helps. They're giving a bit of sort of inbuilt sort of further resilience. But given it's Cadian, I just think he's just like Straken, he's a massive thumbs down. If he could be attached to Cadians, yeah, definitely, like, or even Death Corps. Imagine Death Corps with their organic abilities who are -1 to hit from ranged attacks. More than 12, that could help. But it's a bummer. I own the model as well. He's super cool looking, but given his Cadian, I think he's a thumbs down. Okay, Primaris Pysker, I've touched on it before. So what do you get? He's toughness 3, 5+ save. He's basically the same as everybody else. Very squishy. Now, his psychic attacks, now they're all baked into the shooting phase, are actually pretty decent. So Blast, D6 attacks, hitting on 3, strength 6, AP2, 1 damage, and they're devastating wounds. So, okay, you might actually get some what we call mortal wounds now these days, the new mortal wounds in inverted commas. And then if you want to go hazardous, you can basically do D6 + 3, nice, AP2, and flat 2. That's very tasty. Now, being he's got 3 wounds, if you fail the hazardous test, he can blow himself up in the warp with too much warp energy in his brain. But, you know, it's sometimes worth the risk. And then also his force weapon, 3 attacks hitting on 4s. I mean, it's okay. Well, he can lead basically everybody who is not on horseback, which makes sense. And the key thing we spoke about, and we'll just touch on it firstly, is that it's the unit's got a 4+ feel no pain against psychic attacks. So in the right matchup, that definitely will help, of course. And then psychic barrier we spoke about before, where In your opponent's shooting phase, you roll a d6. On a 1, he suffers d3 mortal wounds, so he actually could kill himself doing that. But on a 2+, models in that psychic, you're going to have a 4+ invul save. Now, a crucial part here is it's a 4+ invul save full stop. Actually, so it's in the shooting phase, so it only gets range attacks. Now, as I said, this bolted into some other combinations with a Death Corps Marshal and some Death Corps dudes with a 5+ feel no pain. 4+ invul save against shooting attacks could make them stick around. So it's like a semi thumbs up, and the reason why I said semi, which is a bit of a rude word for some of you probably understand what I'm saying, but is that actually, my opinion, okay, firstly, the first point about this is that given it's not automatic, you could roll a 1, it could fail. There goes your battle plan, and just like I said, you could roll 3 on the mortal wounds, and he could kill himself. So there is some inherent. There's a 1 in 6 chance this plan falls apart, which is definitely to be considered. And if you are playing competitively, which I'm looking to focus way more on, any variability you just can't accept. Because, and I'm getting off topic, but Astra Militarum overall, our win rates aren't great. Definitely reflects my performance. And you need to focus on the best units in the book, and Sentinels, unsurprisingly, I think one of the best units in the book for their points. Anyway, but I'd like a semi thumbs up. Again, that little funny reference to semi. But this could be quite powerful. But as I said, there's some risk involved. You could use your hazardous test here, fail it. You could roll a 1 there. Also, remember, these are toughness 3 models, so it means you're probably always going to be getting wounding on 3s from opponents' rolls, worst case wounding on 2s. So you could have a crap load of dice going into your 4+ invul save. Yes, you've got a 5+ feel no pain, but if you're in something wild like Tau, you've got wild amount of shooting, enough dice will just defeat 4+ invul save. Yeah, it's 50% chance. So something to be aware of. But, as I said, like whatever that is. Okay. Who's next is Ursala Creed, the new Cadian Lady General. Lady Lords, whatever you call them. 4+ save, 5+ invul save, 4 wounds. Cool. Now, everything else is the same. So what do we get for our 55 points? Is 55 points is you get some low-level DACA, 4 pistol attacks, 4 power weapon attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, strength 4, some low-level, very low-level DACA. She can join Cadian, Infantry, and Kazrakan. She can't join Death Corps or Cadian, makes sense. She can give 2 orders, so this is good. Because as we've seen, the Platoon Command squad can only give 1. Also, they can give, of course, 3. That's good. Now, the other cool thing is, whilst she's leading a unit, that unit can be affected by 2 different orders at the same time. So this is definitely very good. I think if you put them on Kazrakan, that could be fantastic. You'd have take aim hitting on 2s for them. Then you have front rank fire, second rank fire, so rapid fire. +1, so you have a lot of good quality DACA. Even on infantry squads, that's actually pretty decent, yeah? Now, the key thing, which has been sort of, I'm sure, spoken about with a few people, which has been adjusted, and this wording is the old wording, is tactical genius. Once per battle round, 1 unit in your army has been corrected to 1 Astra Militarum unit in your army. So 1 Astra Militarum unit in your army, within 12 inches of this model, can be targeted for a stratagem for 2 command points, even if another unit in your army has been targeted for the same stratagem this phase. So that is very good. Of course, you probably want to do it on, say, the more expensive stratagems. So just thinking of the core rulebook, if you did use, making this up, heroic intervention for 2 CP, counter-offensive, potentially for 2 CP. I don't know if you would, even if you talk about the melee phase, but really the key one, which I'm sure there's some debate about how it will actually activate, is the reinforcements stratagem I spoke about for 2 command points. So I'm personally going to start, I've got crap loads of Sentinels on the hobby table. You can have 3 armoured Sentinels, get destroyed. Because they're regiment, they can be resuscitated or brought back with a 2 CP on reinforcements. Within 12 of Ursala Creed, suddenly you got 3 extra Sentinels coming back into play for 0 CP. So even if you don't use it on that combination of 2 CP, you could basically be, farming in across the course of 5 turns, 5 rounds, 5 additional command points, yeah, given there for free. So Lord Solar giving you 5 extra across the course of the game if you use a stratagem every single turn in theory, which was doing 12 inches to her, you've then got additional 5. That's an additional 10 CP over the course of the game. So Ursala and Lord Solar are very, very strong there. Now, I think, as I said, so given it has to be Astra Militarum, and I think it's also regiment. I can't forget regiment keyword units. If you have taken allied units, it can't be used in that if there's any interactions there. But I'm genuinely quite positive to Ursala. I'm not as positive as what I was before. She got cut, but yeah, she can give 2 orders. I'll check my notes. I can give 2 orders. She got AP2. That helps. 4 wounds actually is good, given I think some other ones we've looked at are 3 wounds, the free CP, but then critically, which is going to be a comment for all the characters I just looked at, is she's squishy. She's probably less squishy than, say, a Psyker, Sergeant Harker, because it's got no invul save. The Platoon Command squad, albeit a lot of wounds, but you know, she's still squishy, yeah. But at 55 points, well, all our characters are cheaper in the scheme of things. Yeah, I think if we compare to other armies, typically the characters are more expensive, I think. Okay, who's next is a Cadian Castellan. It's like a mini version of Ursala Creed. 50 points. Basically, everything here is the same. 5+ invul save. Yep, so it's identical to what she's got. He can take all the low-level shooters, so plasma pistol, power fists, chainsword, power weapon. That's cool. Take a bolt gun if you want. Now, you can give 1 order per turn, as opposed to Ursala giving you 2 orders per turn. Now, he can then also lead basically the same as Ursala, so Cadian, Infantry, and Straken, which is good. So who can lead Cadians then? Oh, okay, so in this instance, just talking out loud, so with the Cadians, if you're focused on the Cadians and Death Corps, he can't and Ursala can't, which means you have to take either the crappy Cadian ones for the Cadians, or you have to take a Death Corps Marshal. You just have to. Anyway, so I just noticed that. Okay, now his abilities, Senior Officer, so sustain hits 1 for the unit leading that. That's definitely good. Bolt monsters of Kazrakans, you get a lot of good level DAC coming out of them, albeit low level as I spoke about. And then he's got an inbuilt fallback and shoot ability. So whilst he's leading in it, eligible to shoot in a 2-inch, it fell back. So that is good. So I think put him in with the Kazrakans, he could definitely do some good work, and a lot of good damage output out there. Or maybe even infantry squad if you're playing, or Cadian shock troop squad if you're playing quite a bit. But I think compared to Ursala, albeit he's 5 points cheaper, I personally would go with Ursala. I don't think these are as good as free CP all day long from Ursala's ability. And tell me what you think here, because I'm still debating this here. I'm still debating. Right, who's next? Getting towards the end of our 17 odd units. It's a regimental engine steer, so 45 points, toughness 4, so it's one of the tougher of the bunch. 3+ safe, 5+ invul save. He's got the blessings of the Omnisire, 3 wounds, and everything else is the same. Okay, so what do we get for our 45 points? So his weaponry is like, it's just cool. You've got a devastating wounds, 1 shot, strength 6 pistol, cool. And then you've got basically, it's so funny how they've just broken this up. It's the same thing. You got essentially 4 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 6, AP2, 2 damage. So he will do good work if he connects. And he can join basically all units that are the ones you think about, including servitors, who no one ever plays, I don't think. So if he's near a vehicle, Astra Militarum vehicle, within 3, he gets a lone operative ability. Cool. So he can run over by himself and be hidden behind his blessed vehicles. And the key one, which I've spoken about in other videos, is the Omnisire's blessing. So in your command phase, you can recover D3 wounds from a vehicle within 3 inches. And the best thing about it is that vehicle has then got a 4+ invul save for that turn until your next command phase. So that is fantastic. A 4+ invul save. I've used it a couple of times on a Rogal Dawn. It does obviously make it sort of a lot longer. You could put it on a freaking Bane Blade if you want to, or a Storm Sword, or Storm Blade, or a Macarius, or a Malcador. So this definitely has got some good play if you are focused on taking some heavy armor. So I personally think he's pretty decent. He's, of course, if you include him, depends on if you take a lot of vehicles. I've been taking personally just 1 Leman Russ and 1 Rogal Dawn, and I'm finding that, given there's only 2 models, that it's not really paying off. But it definitely has merit. Also, nice little cute gimmick. It's if a vehicle blows up within 12, he gets 6 attacks as opposed to throwing his axe, which is definitely cool because he gets so mad. He's one of his blessed vehicles to be honest. So he's definitely like one of these ones. Depending on where you have to basically. Well, with this, you have to make sure that the unit you're casting the 4+ invul save on is going to get shot in inverted commas, because again, you don't want this to only happen 1 or 2 turns a game. If you're going to actually bring this guy, you're going to spend 45 points just to give an invul save. You want to have the invul save working as much as possible. Of course, you don't want to just be wasting a tank in the open, but it makes sense, yeah, because it's one of those ones where you want it to pay off. So yeah, anyway, it's just a bit of a thought, but I'm generally quite positive towards the engines here. Okay, last two, how long have we been talking? A good chunk of time now, is the Commissar. 35 points, super cheap, which is fantastic. Toughness 3, 5+ save, 5+ invul save. Leadership 6, he's one of the braver of the bunch, alongside Imbram Gaunt and Lord Solar. That definitely has to be considered. OC value of 1, so what do we get for our 35 points? We get a mean looking dude, and he can take a bolt pistol, plus a pistol, a chainsword, or a power sword. So, you know, some low level stuff. Hitting on 3, so he's mediocre. You can join all the stuff we can think of, so the Cadian Shock, Catachan, Death Corps, Infantry, Kazrakan, and Tempestus Scions. Cool. You actually give 1 order, but they are duty and honor. So you're basically giving yourself +1 OC, fantastic, and +1 leadership, and then also fixed bayonets, so you're getting more stabby in the fight phase. Now, I had great big hopes for this model, and I've been pretty answered as far as what I assumed he'd get, is that once per battle round, at the start of any phase, select an Astra Militarum unit within 12. If they're battle shocked, 1 model is destroyed and they're no longer battle shocked. So basically executes a single dude or a woman, no longer battle shocked. That is fantastic. Now, if they're attached to a unit, another officer in that same unit, you can reroll battle shock test taken for that unit. So you can do either or, yeah, up to you. Now, the one thing about this is, personally, I haven't experienced a heap of battle shock on infantry. Now, I only take about at max 3 or 4 squads at the moment, yeah. And well, given if you did take Kazrakans and 6 battle lines units and etc., even Bulgrams, yeah, because they're infantry, it may pay off. But personally, I'm not seeing battle shock as much of a game changer personally as I thought it would be. And if you are, please tell me, yeah, because I'd love to hear what you think. But you know, obviously he can't help vehicles. Obviously, you know, it's just infantry. But I find that it's not really an ability I'm seeing much use of at the moment. Now, positive for him, as I look at my notes, is he's ridiculously cheap, 35 points, which means if you have rounding errors, given as you know that the way you basically have to build your army now is of fixed values. So if you come to a point where you're at 1,965 points, you've got to spare 35 points, you can go to Commissar, yeah. Beyond that, he's super cool. All Commissars are cool, given their lore. Well, they're not cool, they're badass. Well, they're actually quite evil. Anyway, you can give an order, and yeah, he's, you know, 5+ invul save is okay. He's still squishy, but yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he's more of like that. He's fantastic for rounding errors if you've got 35 points, but broadly speaking, as I said, I'm not seeing much use of anything negating battle shock, personally, yeah. Lastly, another fantastically old metal miniature, the Regimental Preacher, singing hymns. 35 points, 6+ save and a 4+ invul save. Nice. 3 wounds and 7 leadership. So what do we get for our 35 points? You basically get some crap level, like some pretty rubbish shooters. I think it's like you take an auto gun or a preacher shotgun. I mean, they're all just, you know, strength 4, strength 3, AP0, whatever. You can take a chainsword or a power weapon. Probably take a power weapon because it's obviously AP2. You can join all the stuff you could think of, all the foot sluggers. But where he's got a challenge is basically, whilst his leading unit, melee attacks, melee weapons from this unit got sustained hits 1, yay. So your bayonets will have sustained hits 1, yippee. And then holy piety, or piety. When he makes a melee attack, unless the model's unit is in battle shock, you can re-roll the hit roll. So on your 4 chainsword attacks or 3 power sword attacks, you roll the hit roll. Yay. Okay, so he buffs melee, not good. I mean, if the Catagans were better in melee, you could definitely attach them to them for a bit of a melee gimmick. But I mean, if you had spare 35 points, you would just take a Commissar, yeah. So I'm a thumbs down for the Preacher. So yeah, I think it's been almost an hour of me rambling, and what I've tried to do is now give my opinion on what I think are like the better, and they're probably pretty clear as I've gone through it. So the first one is a definite tick, is Lord Solar. It's then Sly Marbo. It's then the Def Corps Marshal. It's then either the Cadian Command Squad or Platoon Command Squad. I'm just going to do one of them because they're cheaper. And then it's Ursala Creed. And then depending... Now, okay, they're the ones I think are going to appear in a lot of competitive lists. And the challenge we've got is actually like, unless you look super far into the BCP app, finding out winning tournament lists is very hard, because if you look at like Goonhammer summaries, I haven't seen an Astra Militarum list in the top winning 5 or 6 in all of 10th edition. So we don't actually know. And if you are winning once again, tell me, because I want to learn. But from my opinion, I reckon these are the ones you'll see in a lot of lists. Like you'll probably see Lord Solar always. You'll probably see Sly Marbo always. Def Corps probably always. Ursala Creed as well for the CP regen or the free CP. The next ones would then be the Primaris Pysker if you are playing into the invulnerability blob. The Regimental Engine Seer if you are playing a vehicle heavy list. And then Gaunts Ghosts, I think, because I know one of my patrons uses them quite a lot and he's quite effective with them. Gaunts Ghost is then one which I think is a bit of an outlier. Now, they're very good, I think. They're very slippery. They can redeploy that sort of shenanigans. But 115 points is a fair bit of value compared to a 60-point deep striking Scion Squad or a 75-point Sly Marbo. Yeah. But yeah, so what do you think? We've got so many characters to choose from. Hopefully it's a bit easier as you personally navigate our index of the gluttony of characters. As I said, I'm pretty clear on the ones I think are great, but what do you think? Yeah, because I want to learn from you. As I say, I play one game a week if I'm lucky, so I'm far from getting heaps of games in, and I'm still navigating the meta, yeah, as far as what works for guards. I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, any comments, any questions, anything I got wrong, please tell me as well so I can understand and play better. But if you want to support me, you can do so with a like, comment, or by subscribing. Joining my Patreon platoon or simply watching any of my other YouTube videos. I do solely Astra Militarum content and do art tactics like these videos, the hobby aspect including kit bashing, painting and assembling, and also sometimes some lore videos as well. A massive thanks to my current supporters. To get your bayonet sharp, let's go Nord. Faith from the Emperor strong. Patreon platoon, sound off. Tank Commander Glenn. Tank Commander Watchdog Van Etten. Tank Commander Mitchell. Colour Sergeant DuPont, Sergeants Adal, the Colonel Merrill, Veteran Gibson, Hall, Lundeen, Guardsman Beard, Coquelin, Flint, Hills, Malik, Nitton, Nguyen, Smith, Tom, Tompkin, Conscript England, Gilliam, Goodwin.